Warning. This video will contain flashing scenes, scenes of disaster, loud sounds, and valid EAS and J alert tones. If you're easily scared, shaken up, or made emotional by these sorts of things, please click off the video now. Imagine this scenario. It's 4:45 in the morning on an April Thursday before school, and you're in the middle of a very good sleep. And all of a sudden, you're woken up by literally every phone in the house. It's a sound you know well though, the alert attention signal. The sound used when things like natural disasters are going to occur, or your city's about to get bombed, or 3 years ago, the COVID restrictions being applied to your county. Naturally, you'd rush to your phone to see what was happening, as it was a very rude awakening by a sound linked to scenes of disaster and chaos. All for it to say, this is a test of the emergency alert system, or something of the alike. I'm sure you've seen or at least heard of those videos that are little most likely made up scenarios or stories, but unlike those videos, that was a real thing. That actually happened to me and many other people. A story like that would be perfect for the topic of today's video though, the interesting EAS scenario corner of YouTube. Now, unless you've just gotten internet, or are a newborn, or an actual caveman, I'm sure you've heard the sounds of the emergency alert system, which, as the name implies, is an alert system designed to be used to alert the public of an emergency situation. Fortunately, most people know it from either tests or the joke that is severe thunderstorm warnings in your area. The most popular kind of EAS use in my area is to alert the locals that a hurricane, tropical storm, slight rain is coming. Like most states on the southeastern side of the USA, things like extreme heat and hurricanes are the only reason people in those regions would see the use of the EAS. But what if there were more? Well, yes, I've been leading up to it. There's a rather niche side of YouTube that I've been diving into throughout my boredom during this summer, as well as a few others that I might make videos of. I'm of course referring to the aforementioned EAS scenarios. Much like the anti-piracy genre of videos on YouTube, many EAS scenarios are, albeit entertaining, rather outrageous scenarios. Definitely plausible, but mostly done to scare the viewer. At least that's what I could gather. Continuing the similarities to the anti-piracy videos, however, are the videos that are designed to mimic the real thing as close as possible. Now, I'm a weirdo who likes the more realistic side of the genre, as opposed to the creepypasta-esque side, with things like Demons Rising or the Mandela Effect. Both of which being good videos, but they're not typically to my interest. Now, I'm not here to pick apart these videos like sifting through a 2,000-piece puzzle, but I will talk about some of the things that I find interesting about this genre. Where would my conversation be going without any examples? Not even that this is a conversation. As such, I'll play 3 clips and I'd like to see if you can spot the difference.
Blacksburg has issued a tornado warning for Rockingham County in north central North Carolina and Henry County in Martinsville in south central Virginia.
A tsunami warning is in effect, which includes the east coast of Florida. A tsunami warning means that all coastal residents in the warning area are near the beach or low-lying regions should move immediately and land to higher ground.
This critical message is from the United States Space Force. This is not a test. We interrupt.
Now, I'm sure you could probably guess which one falls under my self-dubbed creepypasta-esque side, but it would probably be harder to guess which was real or fake between the first two. Clip 1 was the real one, and clip 2 was part of the, quote, realistic side. Considering how similar they were though, you might be able to make somebody believe that it was actually happening, which is another category of video in the EAS scenario corner I won't be diving into. Of course, most of these videos aren't designed to scare people more or less, they're simply made for entertainment, which apparently worked on me since I'm making a video on it. So, unlike the clip from before, there are some which I would categorize as almost EAS creepypastas. How good at naming I am, I know. These are ones that use the same tones and general style as the real EAS, but they change up something to make it somewhat obvious to the viewer that they aren't supposed to be real. As if the viewer couldn't read scenario in the title, dipshit. If it wasn't already obvious, like many other corners of this forsaken video viewing site, there's a lot of variety in the videos, and everyone can have their own preferences to which they like best. Much like how I prefer the more realistic ones. However, this is only scratching the surface. Have you guys ever heard of a country named Japan? You may know it for its genre of TV called American cartoons dubbed into Japanese. Like the USA, the land of the rising sun has its own alert siren system. I don't know why Japan has an alert system though. It's not like anything bad has ever happened to that country. It's why we get such good American cartoons. Anyways, like the EAS system here, Japan has a system called J-Alert, which serves the same purpose as the American EAS system. Unlike the EAS, however, I'd consider the J-Alert system not only be better, but also more serious as the EAS system. See, the EAS in America uses the same tones for varying reasons, like in the anecdote at the beginning of the video, which is what led me to bolt over to see what was happening. See, I personally consider it a large flaw in the system to use it. Thanks for that. I literally got I got a weather alert while making this video. See, I personally would consider it a large flaw in the system to use the sound for testing the system, the same sound for a worldwide pandemic alert, and then the exact same sound for a nuke threat. It simply doesn't make sense to me, but I digress. The J-Alert system, however, has a sound for basically every type of alert it can relay, with things like an earthquake warning,
緊急地震速報が新たに観測出たのは宮城県、岩手県、福島県、山形県、栃木県、強い揺れに警戒してください。強い揺れに警戒してください。栃木県、茨城県に緊急速報です。強い揺れに警戒してください。
tsunami sirens, 3 actually. And the usual missile alerts. Now, as you may or may not know, Japan, like California and the rest of the western US, sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, so it has a very interesting relationship with natural disasters. So there's a very large repertoire of real J-Alert uses, with all naturally examples that people, not just Japanese, have at their disposal. It's no surprise that the J-Alert puddle under the EAS umbrella would be a lot clearer than the USA puddle. Fuck! Like the EAS examples of before, I'll be playing some clips. Try and see if you can guess what is what. Kanagawa ken, Yamanashi ken, Shizuoka ken Hokutobu, Shindo 3が
緊急地震速報です。強い揺れに警戒してください。緊急地震速報です。強い揺れに警戒してください。
宮城県中部と福島県浜通りで震度5弱を観測しました。また
緊急地震速報です。強い揺れに警戒してください。緊急地震速報です。強い揺れに警戒してください。
緊急地震速報が新たに出されました。宮城県南三陸町の現在の映像です。カメラが大きく揺れています。緊急地震速報が新たに観測出たのは宮城県、岩手県、福島県、
緊急地震速報です。
栃木県、
強い揺れに警戒してください。
茨城県です。強い揺れに警戒してください。栃木県、茨城県に緊急となりました。
強い揺れに警戒してください。
守ってください。
漁獲量は昨日までの
緊急地震速報です。強い揺れに警戒してください。緊急地震速報です。強い揺れに警戒してください。
緊急地震速報です。
地震です。
緊急地震速報です。強い揺れに警戒してください。緊急地震速報です。
This time, clip 2 was the real one, but I'm sure they all look similar, right? Yep, Japan has their own version of the EAS scenarios figured out. Realistic as all heck too. So let's dive into these. Unlike the EAS system, most if not all alerts that are televised in Japan are voiced by a real person or people, with the TV station usually switching to their news studio when a situation calls for it. Once you know this fact, it makes it rather obvious when a J-Alert scenario is real or not due to the lack of voice. Some J-Alert scenarios use a real human voice though, so props to those. Clip 1 and 3 are both fake in this scenario, but I'd categorize them under the same category as the, quote, realistic side of the EAS videos. Clip 4 falls under a different category, one that I've only seen in the J-Alert puddle, but has recently been making a resurface on the EAS side, which I call, quote, real but not. These are videos that are made using the same sounds as the J-Alert or respective system, but taking past events that don't have J-Alert versions, past events being before 2007 since that's when J-Alert was launched. Since we don't have an example of this genre yet, I'll play one for you now.
緊急地震速報です。強い揺れに警戒してください。緊急地震速報です。強い揺れに警戒してください。
The J-Alert scene is different from the American EAS scene, however, due to the fact that J-Quake, an actual earthquake prediction and alert app, actually makes some. The one I played just now was a warning that would be shown by the app had it been running in 2004. Again, using a real event and sounds for a past event. What makes it even more interesting is the fact that the real J-Quake channel made it, as well as some others. Another difference that the J-Alert scene has is a surprising lack of category I mentioned in the EAS section of the video, the creepypasta-esque category. While EAS scenarios in the USA typically focus on creepypastas, SCP, or other scenarios, the J-Alert scene is usually more focused toward things that actually happen in Japan. Earthquakes, tsunami, and to a lesser extent, missiles and volcano eruptions. Notice, however, I said usually. Yep, even the land of the rising sun isn't safe from its scary material. Ooh. An interesting thing to note, however, the real but looks blatantly fake genre doesn't really exist in the J-Alert puddle. I do have one example of a creepypasta-esque video that you could categorize under this niche, but I'd consider it to fall under a different genre, the internationally known analog horror. Of course, all this probably means nothing since these are just videos on this stupid site, but I find this whole genre rather amazing, especially when you consider the amount of editing and effort put into a lot of these videos. When I was making my J-Alert scenario, it really dawned on me just how much effort had gone into this genre. Again, sharing a similar characteristic to the anti-piracy scene genre. Of course, it's safe for you and I to assume that there's EAS scenarios for other countries like Italy, China, Korea, etc. But I don't speak any of the languages in those countries, so I wouldn't know. Not every video in every category I've listed may be your thing, but I implore you to please check out the EAS scenarios on this site, as it really is an interesting little niche when you get into it. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some dude on YouTube who probably bored you with a lot of nonsense. But that nonsense was all a fraction of the pizza on the menu with the name of the Interesting EAS Corner on YouTube.